Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Right Off Track podcast, where we venture into the extraordinary stories that remind us it's okay to stray off the beaten path. I'm thrilled to present our next guest, Jane Kisnica, who exemplifies the spirit in every facet of her journey. Jane is a true creative, driving a thriving freelancing graphic design career fueled by over 5 years of experience in the design and marketing fields. Her journey through design and marketing industries has equipped her with a depth of experience that she's channeled to help small businesses and solopreneurs bring their ideas to life. Beyond her design prowess, Jane embodies the digital nomad lifestyle, traveling the globe while also inspiring as a content creator on LinkedIn. Her platform has become a vibrant space for insightful discussions where she candidly shares her experiences as a freelancer, delving into the highs and lows of her journey and fearlessly addressing mental health issues. But Jane is more than a designer. She's a creative ally and a genius source of inspiration. Her witty sense of humor, combined with her authentic approach to sharing knowledge, has cultivated a devoted and loyal audience. In this episode, we'll delve into Jane's unique journey, exploring her design expertise, her adventures as a digital nomad, and her advocacy for mental health awareness. Get ready to be inspired as Jane's genuine narrative and ingenious design services take center stage. Join us as we uncover her extraordinary story that reminds us it's okay to stray off the beaten path. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you. That was one hell of an intro. Thank you. Good to be here.
I mean, you are an amazing human being. And before we start, I just want to say a little shout out to Earl Talbot, who introduced us. I feel like he's blessed my
Yes.
life with so many wonderful things. And one of those is introduction with you. And so I knew that when I reached out, like, okay, if he likes Jane, she's going to be an amazing human being. And then we connected and I was like, okay, she's traveling the world, she's doing all the things, she has an amazing audience. And then through our conversation, you were just so authentic and easy to talk to. And I was like so impressed by that balance of everything you're doing. So thank you for joining us.
Of course, it's my pleasure to be here. I'm excited for this chat.
My pleasure is all mine too. And for our audience, like I'm sure a lot of the audience listening is going to already know you and love you and be part of your audience. But for those that may not, can you share a little bit about the story to where now you have this big following, you're doing all this amazing stuff in digital design, but that wasn't always the case. How did you maybe get to where you are today, and what were some of the main milestones up to this way?
Right. Yeah, so I used to work for a recruitment agency for 4 and a bit years, and I did their marketing and their graphic design, and kind of got bored of it. It's when you work with the same. I need a lot to keep me entertained, and repeating the same tasks every day gets me bored really quickly. So during COVID, that became really apparent that I was like, I'm not happy. I got time to sit down and think why I'm not happy, and I was like, okay, it's the job. I need to change something. I need something new, something exciting. Realized I want to go freelance. That I want to go back
Mm-hmm.
to having my own time back and my own sort of freedom and being able to do what I want when I want, not when someone tells me to. So I in 2020 January I started posting on LinkedIn, which is kind of where it all happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a hard journey because I obviously when you first start there's crickets, no one pays attention to your content, no one comments, it's
Yeah.
punch in the gut, your ego is like, oh my god, what is going on here? But I kind of managed to stick through those few 3 months where
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing happening, and then things started to pick up, and then within 6 months of posting, kind of being active and trying to build my personal brand and actually trying to figure out what I want to do with it, which direction I'm going to take it in, what I'm going to talk about, kind of snowballed. And I just woke up one morning and I was like, okay, I have so much work, I need to quit my job. I can't have a full-time job that I spend 8-9 hours a day on, and I
Oh,
can't keep doing the freelance work because I'm like, there's not enough hours in the day, not enough days in the week. So 6 months in, posting on LinkedIn, I was giving my notice in at my full time job, and then from September 2022, I went fully freelance and have been fully
Mhm.
freelance since, and been, yeah, yay.
So that's almost a year here, right? Almost a
Yes,
year
yeah,
at
it
this
will
moment, yeah.
be, yeah, 31st August on the dot. That was my
Oh.
last working day, if it was a working day. And it was August. August was my last month of last year, was my last month of full employment. And then from 1st of September, I was officially freelance, doing my own thing, and kind of packing up my whole life and moving to Asia and doing all
Oof.
that stuff.
So much to unpack there. And everybody listening on the 31st, congratulate Jane on a year on this amazing journey. But to get back a little bit to you and kind of how things formed, I think you mentioned that, design wasn't necessarily the core component of your work at the previous job, right? But you made it. You're like, you know what? That's what I
Yeah,
actually
so
like to
I
do.
yeah, so what, because I had time to, when COVID happened, I actually had time because I was one person doing all the marketing tasks, right? So I was
Mhm.
photography, video, social media, websites, content, creation, design, everything that you can think that goes under the marketing umbrella for a 50 plus people business I was in charge of. So I was always tired, I was always overworked, and I didn't have that time to actually sit with myself and my thoughts and kind of think about, what do I like, what do I don't like, how am I happy, am I
Yeah.
content with what I'm doing,
Yeah.
where I'm at in life. And then COVID happened and all that really slowed down. And I've read Simon Sinek's Start With Why, and
Yeah.
that kind of blew my mind open. I was like, oh my God, I hate my job. I need to change this. And that kind of, then I started sitting thinking, okay, there's aspects of my job that I like, and there's aspects of my job that I don't like. So I didn't like the marketing side because it's all numbers and spreadsheets and 12-month plans up ahead. I don't know what I'm going to be doing next week. Not to mention trying to figure out what to do with marketing for the next, it's just not how I function.
Right.
I don't enjoy it. It just causes me anxiety. um and then I realized that, okay, I don't like the marketing side of things, but I actually really like the design side of things, because when I'm designing, I'm really happy. I'm kind of in my, in my zone. I'm enjoying it. I make Gives me a lot of joy when someone gives me a Word document full of text and I create something visually stunning from it, and they go, oh my God, thank you so much. And it's even more so if they come back and go, oh my God, what you created for me helped me close a client, or bring in leads, or whatever it might be, that they were trying to achieve with that design. So then I started thinking, okay, I don't think I'm that good, because obviously I'm self-taught. I haven't gone to uni or anything. I fell into a job by an accident. It just happened. I learned everything from YouTube and going to courses and doing online courses and that sort of stuff. So I
Pretty
didn't go.
much the same thing. Pretty much the same thing. I
To be
I
honest,
have 2 degrees, and I'm like, it's still very much like self-taught. That's the value there.
yeah, like I know some people who are doing a design degree right now, and it's a waste of time. You could learn all that. You could learn that and more in a year, and probably pay about 500 quid for it for online courses. So that's another topic. Um, but yeah, so I started just picking up some extra skills, spending my free time just learning about logo design and branding, and just designing for a wider sort of range of businesses and things like that. Because when I was working for the recruitment agency, I could design for them while I was asleep, because I was so used to, it's all the same thing, right? It's the
Right.
same layouts, the same branding, the same everything. So I kind of started honing my skills, and then dealing with my mindset as well, because there was a lot of scarcity mindset involved. Because my original thoughts were like, oh, who's going to pay me? Like, there's so many designers out there. It's such a saturated sector area. Like, how am I even? And I don't think I'm that good. How am I going to make this work? So there was a lot of mindset work on my part that I needed to deal with. So I got some coaching. I read a lot of books and listened to podcasts and did all the things that you do, right, to get over some negative, just toxic mindsets that you might have acquired. And yeah, then slowly kind of just all evolved and came together, and then LinkedIn happened because I tried on Instagram in the beginning. That was a waste of time. I was on there for about 6 months, didn't get a single job, and then LinkedIn kind of came in, and then on 6 months on LinkedIn, and I was quitting my job because I had so much freelance work that I didn't know what to do with it. So yeah, that's kind of a short story.
I love that. I love that. And I'm going to unpack some parts of it because there's definitely a lot of things I want to dive into. But one thing that stood out to me was the reflection piece. And I find it ironic, not necessarily good or bad, is that we get so busy in our life, like without intention. We follow this path, like, oh well, I fell into this job, what's whatever that is, and like, okay, I should be happy. I'm in a stable job, I'm doing something that's right. But then you
Mhm.
realize at a point of slowing down, like, I'm not actually happy.
Yeah, yeah. Because we don't like we're usually so busy that we don't have that time to actually sit with our own thoughts. And a lot of people actually avoid that. They hate being by themselves. They avoid spending time with themselves and their thoughts because they don't want to know what's actually going on in their head.
Yeah.
For me, it was more that I was just always so because I'm an introvert as well. So for me, going to the office and dealing with people and the travel there and the travel back, that's incredibly exhausting. So by the time doing that 5 days a week, getting up 5:30 in the morning, being in the office for 8 a.m., not getting home till probably 6:30, 7 p.m., 5 days a week, that was excruciatingly exhausting for me. But I haven't realized that. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
even realized how tired I was because then COVID came and I didn't have to go into the office. And I was like, oh, I actually have so much more energy now that I don't have to go into the office every day or, do all the travel and getting up so early and all that. So it just, yeah, it kind of helped me just realize that there was a lot of things that weren't actually working for me
Mm-hmm.
as a human being, but I haven't had the energy or the time to realize what wasn't working and why wasn't it working and that there is maybe a different way of doing things.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, since you had that reflection initially, like, I think that initial reflection adds a little more curiosity to kind of the point after that point. Like, is there now like more reflection that you try to have as you're doing your work, like as after that initial point, like, oh, this is not working for me? Have you carried on that curiosity and kind of reflection as part of your day to day now that you are doing this and you're doing it well and thriving? Is that still helpful for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you have to. Because when you run your own business, you kind of have to do it because you have to realize what works, what doesn't work, what makes you money, what doesn't make you money. So you kind of have to always be in that reflection mindset because if you're not, then you're not really going to grow. You're not going to develop. You're kind of just going to be stuck in a single place. And I have some weeks that are really busy and I barely have time to sleep and eat and do anything else but work. But then other the week after will be a lot more calmer, and then I can again sit down and think, okay, well, you know, maybe if something went wrong with a client or whatever the week before, I can then sit down and kind of mull over it and think, okay, maybe I could improve my onboarding process, or maybe I need to ask some more questions, or maybe there's another thing that I need to work on or change or improve or remove or add or whatever it might be in my processes that would help me avoid that mistake. Or
Mm-hmm.
if, for example, if a client comes back and doesn't like my work, I can sit down and think, okay, could I have done the onboarding better? Could I have asked better questions? Was this just me having a bad day and
Mm-hmm.
not having the right creative mindset for this job? That's why it didn't turn out. Or is it just the client? Because sometimes you get clients, doesn't matter how good you are, they're not going to be happy and they won't be able to tell you what the problem is and all that. So that's another thing to deal with. So you kind of need to process all this. Go, is it
Right.
me? Is it them? Is it something I did? Is it something that they did or didn't do? So this I think it's just with business you have to reflect and look back at things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When you work for someone else, I almost feel like they do it for you because you have your like quarterly check-ins, and then you just sit down and write things on paper or discuss your last 3 months or whatever, and you kind of don't have to reflect and think about things as much because everything just kind of it just happens, and most things are the same every day. Most processes are the same. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very different, I think.
Yeah, and I love like oh, I love all of that. But I think the mindset piece is really important on a variety of things that you mentioned. So from this, like the reflective piece is so important because you mentioned we talked about mental health a little bit earlier on, and I think that where mental health can get really difficult is when we step away from being curious and reflective to being judgmental of ourselves. Instead of like, oh,
Mhm.
this didn't go well, I am XYZ, in a negative connotation to like, okay, this didn't go well. Let's get curious and how can I make it better? And if today was shit for whatever reason, how can we make it better and not make it about who I am as a human being, but more like,
Mhm.
okay, this is a problem to be solved and let's get curious about it.
Oh, big time. Especially um, as a creative, I imagine that every doesn't matter if you're a designer, videographer, or copywriter, whatever you are. I feel like you really have to learn to separate yourself from the work, which is a lot of you have to work with yourself and kind of always have to remind yourself, okay, they didn't like my work, but it's not a reflection on me as a human. It doesn't make me a bad human or not worthy or terrible or whatever it might be. It's just they didn't like the work. Creative work, whatever you create and put out in the world is very subjective. So people will see it differently. Some people will love it, some people will hate it, some people won't feel anything about it. So you kind of need to learn um, to separate yourself from that, because otherwise it's going to be really hard. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's really,
Yeah.
it's hard because I hate when someone doesn't like what I've done. It really upsets me. I get
Yeah.
really emotional, so I really have to learn to not let it ruin my day or ruin my week or whatever. I have to really learn to control the emotions, because with depression and anxiety that I have, something can happen and I can mull it over for the next week, and it might stop me from sleeping and performing properly, because I'm just constantly obsessed about this one thing that went wrong. So I've found ways how to sort of detach myself from negative feedback, from, I don't know, people not liking my content or not liking my work or whatever it is, because I don't want my work to affect my mental health in that sort of degree where I can't sleep, or it just stresses me out and I can't enjoy life, or do good work for my other clients because someone else didn't like what I've done for them.
Yeah. Thank you, A, for being vulnerable and sharing that. And to your point, I think like our mental we undervalue sometimes our mental health, but it has correlation to everything, right? Like our bodies feel it, right? Like I usually get like an upset stomach the moment like the mental health and anxiety, like I'm like, oh my gosh, like always upset stomach, like just
Yeah,
yeah, uncomfortable feelings, and like you don't function the same way because of something that's in our head, and it's easy to say okay, we'll just forget about it, but it's not easy to mentally get there. It takes that repetition
yeah,
and work.
absolutely. I think it takes repetition, takes work, and also you can't, with negative feelings and emotions, you have to feel them and get through them and deal with them. And very often it's helpful to actually understand why it's making you feel like that, because if someone tells me they don't like my work, it's usually my inner child just starts having a tantrum and go and is thrown back to school, where I was bullied and I wasn't liked and I wasn't the popular kid, I was the geek who was picked on. So it like brings up some form of childhood trauma that I haven't quite dealt with. And that also helps you kind of go, okay, this is not actually about that person and about them not liking my work. This is more about some sort of earlier year trauma being pulled up to the surface. And sometimes you can't figure out what it is, but even if you do have that pause and you go, oh, this probably has nothing to do, me getting upset about this has nothing to do with this person not liking my work, but it's something that's going on up here that I need to process. It just helps me calm. At least it helps me. I don't know if it helps everyone, but for me, like if I acknowledge that, yeah, this is
Yeah.
probably my ego being bruised and my inner child having a tantrum because someone didn't like what they did, it helps me kind of squish down those upset feelings and just mellow out a bit and not be as affected by it as I used to. Because
Yeah, well, I think
I,
you're
I
cool.
hate when people don't like my work. And it hurts me. It's like, how dare you?
We're still human, and I think you're cool. And I was the foreign kid growing up, and I don't think of myself as cool ever. And that's okay. Like I was chubby. I went to different schools, like including different countries. I remember being called fat in Spanish at a new school. All the good stuff, and that's okay because it made me who I am today, and that's
Hmm.
fine. But I totally can get that. And you know what I think, like personally, nothing really related to the podcast is like I try to see emotions as like they're protecting us, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes the negative emotions, they're not really there. We're not, I don't try to look at them as like, well, you are against me. A lot of times I try to frame like, what are they trying to protect in me?
Yeah.
Right. And they're
Or
usually trying to
well,
protect some kind of discomfort.
yeah, it's discomfort. It's some sort of trigger that you haven't quite dealt with. It's some trauma that the situation's reminding you of from your younger days. Whatever. It's usually about something. It's usually about us, and it's usually about
Yeah.
something completely different than what the actual thing is that is upsetting us.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I was talking to my mom and we had this subject the other day, but she was giving me feedback on the podcast, which in itself is amazing. Anytime somebody's willing to give you authentic feedback, like that's a gift, take it. But
Mm.
I, in myself, was like, but that requires me to change something that I'm doing right now. And
I'm
but
perfect. How dare you?
but it was my ego. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's funny. Like, if I want to be any good at what I do, this is where I need to change. Like, this is where I need to be catching that emotion of like being rigid. And there's no successful business that's like, you know what? We've always done it the same. That's been really
Yeah, no,
successful for
that's
us
like
always.
that's such a red flag, right? Yeah, you have to learn to not take it personally, and also like for me, it also depends how you deliver the feedback. If it's constructive, if it's what's the words, constructive and like applicable and delivered in a nice manner, I'm like, okay, kind of hurts, but sure, it makes sense. If it's delivered in like an abrupt, rude way where it's like an attack on you, an attack on the work, and I have had clients who will like, take the piss out of the work because they don't like a particular element, or try to be funny, but it's not funny. It's just insulting. Like, you didn't have to insult the work. You just need to tell me what it is that doesn't work for you, and I'll change it. You don't have to go into insult mode. So that's when it stings a lot more, but it's almost more anger than anything else. Like, it's more like, how dare you. But yeah, you have to, it's just and the more you do it, the more I think it becomes easier as well, because I still get upset. I'm not like perfect, but I definitely react in a very different way than I did when I first started out. Because when I first started out, if someone said didn't like something or gave me some feedback, it would be like, I wouldn't say anything to the person, but internally it would take me 2 days to get over it, and I would be like upset about it and angry, and couldn't sleep because I'm thinking it over in my head
Yeah.
when I'm going to bed and all that. So yeah, the more I did it, the more I'm doing it, the better I'm becoming with dealing with all those emotions, and kind of reminding myself that it's not about you. It's not an attack on. Sometimes it probably is, like, but it's like 1% out of 100 where someone maybe is actually being insulting towards you. But 99% of the time, it's nothing to do with you. It's not a personal attack. It's just an opinion. We all
Yeah.
have different opinions, and you just need to accept that and move on and do whatever you need to do to make the work better.
Absolutely. I appreciate again you always being authentic, which is evident in everything you do. One thing, I don't know if it helps, like I try to think of like how people act as usually a big reflection of them than you.
Mm.
So like I think a lot of times people like we're horrible at giving feedback, even if we although I do believe like we feel the intention of the other human being. Like so if you're trying to do something difficult, trust that. Like don't be nice and say all the nice thing. Be kind and say something truthful that's gonna help the other person. But if somebody's being shitty to you, that's probably a reflection of their inability.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It is like communication on its own is a skill, right? And so, and a lot of people do not have that skill, especially working in design. I learned more and more that a lot of people actually can't express what it is that they want or what it is that they don't like or why or whatever. It's very hard for
Mm-hmm.
people to express themselves. Every time I get a nasty comment on LinkedIn,
Mm.
someone argumentative or just being horrible, not liking my content, whatever, I always remind myself that it's not about me.
Yeah.
This is nothing to like. No happy person and no content person will go online and just spread hate
Yeah.
and be nasty to people they don't know, to complete strangers for the sake of being nasty. There's usually an underlying issue there, unhappiness, trauma, whatever it might be that is causing the person to act that way, but it's nothing to do with me because they don't even know me. So why?
Yeah.
Unless I'm going and openly spreading hate towards whatever group of people or whatever, like being hateful towards me because you don't like the post that I did doesn't really reflect on me, it reflects on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that you, in a way, like as you grow your social presence, unfortunately, there will be people who see that as a platform to get attention. Right. And I think also being a woman, right, and looking somewhere like we also, like, I'm not saying I'm projecting that myself, like, but even I, as a mom, get like uncomfortable posts, like not like even sexual, but like demanding my attention or something like that. Like it's interesting, kind of the reactions we get when you put yourself socially out there when you're trying to do good, and people just have all their own backgrounds, and you have to weigh that. And we talk about that a lot, but I'm just making that side comment because like I think besides even nasty comments, there's things that women have to do with that are just trying to do good in the world that I don't think many others have to. But
Oh yeah,
that's a whole different
absolutely,
subject.
absolutely. The middle-aged white man complex of wanting to um, mansplain a woman online or wanting to argue with a woman about a subject they know nothing about, but they'll still argue about it and still try to make you put you in your place and like make you feel bad about it or like you don't know what you're talking about. I don't get it a lot, but I get like I'll probably get a couple of months where I'm just like, "Ugh, here we go again. Here's another one."
Yeah, and it's
And
hard if you're human. Yeah, go
it's
ahead. Sorry.
always a middle-aged, middle-class white man every single time. I very rarely get any hate or negativity or just weird argumentative stuff from women. It happens very rarely. It's
Yeah.
always a middle-aged white man
Okay.
who
I'm
wants
gonna
to
take the vibe to like thank you for and
show
if you
off.
can like it's important, like sincerely, like there's times where like I love this platform and everything that I'm doing, and I feel like I'm doing good in the world, connecting people like with Jane, which is inspiring. And then there's time like, why does somebody have this in their life to bring you down? And I again
Mm,
reflect on like it's not me, it's them dealing with their own like, and I sincerely struggle with that because like I'm like, how do I build people up? Like how do I give people the chance? But like I'm learning to also trust my instinct around people who like reach out
yeah,
or have expectations. And if it doesn't feel good, and if you're listening to this, like honor the feelings that you have about
absolutely.
people
Trust your
reaching
gut.
out, what you're doing. Very
Yeah.
beautiful.
And just don't engage. Like my with any sort of hate, I just don't engage. I just delete and block.
Yeah.
I
Not
used to
even
I
hate.
used to
Yeah.
engage, but now I'm just like I don't have time for this. Like it's again, it's not about me, it's about them. So I might as well just save myself stress and not
Yeah.
engage. And it's sadly it is what comes with social media. The more you put, as you said, the more you put yourself out there, the more you grow your following, the more people see your content, the more you're going to bring in some sort of negativity. You, as much as it sucks, you kind of need to be ready to deal with that.
Yeah.
Um, because it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how nice you are, it doesn't matter what content you post, there will be someone who's going to hate on you. And that's it. And it's just how the world works, sadly.
And just interject something completely random into your content for no reason and just like prove their own point. But
Yeah.
anywho, I do want to pivot a little bit, but I love this genuine discussion, and I hope it's helpful for everybody listening who may be seeing something different, just want to have validation and that perspective, because I don't think we talk about this a lot, honestly, and it's sad because it's happening. But to talk about your start of the journey, you mentioned that for the first couple of months, crickets, right? And
Yeah.
that's really hard. Like, not only are you taking a step in, like, I really want to do this, I find this exciting, and that you're like, I'm going to take over the world kind of phase, right? When you start. And then it can be really challenging to keep putting in the work and your heart and soul into something where you're not seeing the output. Can you share a little
Mm.
bit more, like, what helped you have that confidence and resilience throughout that time?
So for me, it was, I had, again, it was a mindset thing, right? I I thought about, okay, I've been doing this. This is not working, but I know that these, because I've worked in social media. I know how these things work. I know these things can take time. So I reminded myself that I need to stick at it, and that at some point it will work and it will happen. Um, and reminded myself that the scariest thing for me was not getting the likes or the engagement to feed my ego, but it was being stuck in a job that I don't want to be in. So that was kind of my driving force, because I was like, I want to get out, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get out and build a life that I want. Um, and that just, yeah, kind of, I just function on fear, I guess. It helped me, because every time the fear, the thought of still being stuck in a 9 to 5 job, 5, 10, 15 years from now, dealing with all the corporate bullshit and all the games and all the stuff that you need to deal with to get a promotion, to get a salary raise, to ask for permission to go on holiday, all these things. I just reminded myself that that's my biggest fear, and I don't want to, apart from dying, that's my biggest fear. Second biggest fear is me being stuck in an office job doing a job that I don't want to do just to pay bills. And that got me through those low moments, just remembering why I'm doing this, what I'm doing this for, and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Because obviously, if you're doing it for 12 months and nothing's happening, you probably need to rethink your strategy and rethink what you're doing and how you're approaching it, your topics, how you're showing up online, and everything. But it does take time. So I reminded myself, okay, I've been doing this for 2, 3 months. It's crickets, mostly my colleagues liking my posts and then taking the piss out of me after they have read it. I was like, I'm just going to keep doing it. I've seen people succeed. I know what you can do with LinkedIn. I know how you can grow a successful business. I have seen it happen. I have friends who have done it. I've, like, yeah, it was just getting over myself, really, and not letting that ego drag me down and stop me from posting and kind of pursuing something that I wanted to pursue.
I think that's so powerful. Like a lot of things, like, again, what drives you, like being very clear, whatever it is. And it's okay to have the fear of like regret. I think about it all the time, like things I want to do, and I'm like, like, but I will regret not doing it. And I'm like, okay, then
Yeah.
we're doing this. We're doing this.
I always remind myself, you're gonna regret the things that you didn't do, not the things that you did do. Because at least if you do something, you're like, okay, well, this didn't work, or this wasn't for me, or I didn't enjoy that, so I'm not gonna do it again. But at least I know, and you probably learned something from it as well, from doing it. At least the minimum you learned that, oh, it didn't work this way, or I didn't like it, or whatever it might be. There's always a lesson from any situation that you can take away.
You know, it's funny. People say like try anything once, and I'm like, try anything twice. Because if you try it the first time and didn't like it, there's a chance it was a whatever, it was a faulty situation, right? But like, there's so much we miss in life when we don't try at all, or like
Mm,
make a quick judgment and then avoid whatever it is. And this is broadly speak food, whatever. But like, again, the whole point is like experience life and don't make quick judgments or avoid situations in general that avoid you from experiencing things.
absolutely, I totally agree. Like, life is short, right? So we might as well do all the things and experience and do as many things as we want. Like, that was another thing. I want to see the world, and you can't do that when you work in an office, because you're stuck to 2, 3 weeks of holiday a year, and where, well, you can't really go anywhere.
And
Like,
in
where
the
you go, you
UK,
go
like
to.
imagine in the US, you have 1 week. Like most people have one crappy week of holiday.
That is, I can't, that just, like, it actually fills me with, like, dread to think that, to live a life like that. Um, So yeah, travel was another thing that pushed me towards it, because I was like, I want to travel, I want to have my freedom, I want to live where I want to live, not where my job makes me to live, because I want to see the world, I want to experience. There's so much to see in the world. It's so small, but it's so big. There's so much going on. There's so many beautiful places, and I was like, I want to see it all. And that was another drive for me that pushed me through those crickets months. Was, yeah, I want to get out of the office. I want to travel. I want to have my freedom back. I want to be in charge of my life, in charge of my income, not be not have it dictated by someone else. Like I've, yeah, yeah.
And if you don't mind me or mentioning here, like you had a beautiful story with your tattoos that also kind of goes through this journey. Do you mind mentioning that here?
No, not at all. So when I decided that I'm gonna go freelance and I'm gonna make it happen, I didn't quite know which direction I'm gonna take and how it's gonna go, but it was like in my head, I was like, okay, I made a decision, I'm gonna make this happen. Usually when that happens, I make things happen no matter what. I'm stubborn like that.
Love it. Love it.
So I got this tattoo on my left hand, and it was almost like a promise to myself that I will never go back to the corporate world, and that I will get out, because I did work in an office, yes, but we had quite lax, rules about tattoos and things like how you were dressing. So it was kind of a relaxed environment. But this was for me like a promise to myself that I'm gonna get out and I'm never gonna go back, and I'm gonna make it happen no matter what. And also a lot of people wouldn't hire me with this on my hand, so it was, I was like, I'm just like, there's no other choice, right? So that was that. And then once I got out and I went freelance and came over to Asia, and I was in Bali in the beginning for a few months, I got my other hand done. And that was more of a, you did it, you got out, you made it happen, and this is your path now, sort of thing. So they're just both reminders for me why I'm doing it, why I did it, and what got me to where I am now. So they're kind of, yeah.
And they're gorgeous. And for anybody who's on the podcast and on the YouTube, you have like beautiful lotus tattoos, and they have like little elements that go on your fingers, just in case they're hearing this.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a little close up, so check it out on YouTube.
There's all sorts going on.
I love the element of like see what you where you want to be too, right? And I think the tattoo in this case was like a manifestation. Like I am doing this, and I'm seeing this reminder for me daily. You know what's funny? Like when I launched this podcast, it was just like, who knew what I would be doing? But like I made a T-shirt. I made a T-shirt of the logo that wasn't even used right now, but it was like my quick like couple days of work. I'm like, I'm just gonna put it in front of me so I see something. And I got the microphone, and I was like, I don't know how to use it, which is evident in some of my like episodes that came out. I was like, I should have Googled that. But like, I was like, I'm not going to stop and like lose the momentum and just wait for permission or whatever, or validation or get perfect. I'm like, I am just going to learn and have something in front of me that like makes me look the part.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a reason, like mood boards, manifestation, all that, it works. Obviously, I don't believe in manifestation to a degree where you sit on your ass in your living room watching Netflix and waiting for millions to fall in your lap. That's not going to happen. But I do believe if you have the if you have the right mindset, and you do the right actions that can take you to where you want to be, it does work. Because I have gone through mind shift changes. For example, just before things took off for me, I had quite a heavy scarcity mindset still, and I read a book. I can't remember the author now, but I think it's called "You're a Badass at Making Money." I think it's Jennifer or something, Sirocco, or something like that. Can't remember what her name was now, but I read that book, and it really helped me. It helped me get over my scarcity mindset, because all she talks about the scarcity mindset, and I am spiritual, so she involves a lot of spiritual elements into that as well. So it really helped me switch how I was looking at money, how I was looking at getting clients. I didn't look at it anymore like, oh, where I'm going to get clients, like there's not enough. Now I look at it like there's 8 billion people in the world, nearly 8 billion, right? I only need a few to make a living each month, to make good money. And if I want to make more money, I just need to hone my skill, get better, charge more, get better clients. It's all out there. It's all available to me. I just need to put out the right energy and have the right mindset for it. And literally within like a month, things just changed. As soon as I switched that mindset and got rid of that scarcity, it's still there. It's not completely gone, but I look at it in a very, very different way now, and money and how I spend it and how I save it and everything. But it just changed completely. So I do believe that when you have the right mindset and you focus on the right things happen. Things do happen, things do come, and things do work out.
I completely believe that. And I just Googled it as we are talking. Jen Sincero? I might be
Yes,
butchering
yes,
her
there we
last name.
go. I was very
I love
close.
that. I love all books that have like some kind of punny thing or kind of edgy thing to it. Like Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck was a was a good book for me
Yeah.
too, and it's really about like owning your own life. Like you are in charge, but like anything that has any kind of swear words in it has my heart.
Oh, same. Yeah, same. I have a potty mouth.
You know what's funny? If you see my episodes, you might be like, Anya, why did you rate this explicit? There was nothing explicit. Because like I don't remember sometimes what episodes we swore in. I was like, just to be safe, because I want to be
Yes,
sure we can do that.
because you can say one swear word and then you have to rate it as unsafe, because otherwise they're going to take it down or whatever. So might as well.
It's like let's always be authentic. On that subject, like what I love about your content is like it has so much. It's just fun. I read your content, even on like important things. You have this very personal like story. You have a way to write it. Like even your description. Like just read the about section of Jane. It's just fun. Like I like how you mentioned something about like if you're not from like this 80s or something, like using email, go to my DM, like just like how you describe things. It's like, oh, she just you feel your spirit through your text because I'm sure it's not easy. It takes thought and effort to get there, but
Oh,
like there's a lot of
absolutely.
authenticity throughout your whole work. So my question in there, deeply buried, is like, how did you learn to like be authentic throughout like the social space? Because I think it'd be challenging too to kind of show up authentically and be confident in that.
It is. It still is. I do still censor myself a little bit, because if I actually spoke the way I spoke, I probably would like be put in LinkedIn jail and never be let out. Um, I
We can be friends though.
Yeah, yeah, you're fair. But it just comes with time, I think. Again, everything evolves around mindset, right? Do I really care about what some strangers online think about me? Maybe a little bit, yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, not so much. So if you don't like what I have to say or the way I talk, you're not my person, you're not my audience, you're not someone I want to work with. Like, I always laugh when I don't get them a lot, but when I see comments like, "Oh, I can't believe you said that. I would never work with someone like that." I'm like, "Good, because I don't want to work with you either if that's your attitude."
Win win.
Like, win here, so I'm pushing. So I have found that if I'm very open about who I am as a person, what my values are, what I believe in, what I don't believe in, I push away the people that don't fit with my character and who I am as a person, and I attract the people who think the same as I do. So it helps avoiding working with people that I don't want to work with. Sometimes some still sneak through, but overall, everyone who comes to me, I think they have a pretty good idea of who I am, how I work, how I talk, and how I behave. So I don't. So yeah, it's almost like a filtering system for me, being me, being honest and talking the way I want to talk and express myself kind of pushes away the people who wouldn't agree with it. But if they don't agree with the way I am, I don't want to work with them anyway, so it doesn't matter. So that helps. Also, I'm the older I get, the less fucks I give. I
Yes.
just
Yes. I usually I don't have enough fucks per day. Like I'm done. And
I
my limit
just
has been exceeded. 3 kids. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, I want to say what I want to say. I want to talk the way I want to talk. If you don't like it, like, just move on. I don't care. There's enough people out there who do resonate with what I have to say, with the way I am, with the way I say things. So it's just, you just need to care less. That's probably the takeaway here. And it is hard because you have to again, you have to detach your self-worth and kind of yourself from the content a little bit, almost, so you don't care as much what will Karen in accounting say about this post. Like, do you does is Karen someone you want to work with? Is Karen someone who will add to your community, to your life? Probably not. So who who gives a fuck what Karen thinks?
Although
Apologies,
my
Karen.
mother-in-law is
I know I'm not
Karen.
bad.
Yeah, my mother-in-law is Karen, and I do care a lot. But besides that, for those other Karens, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just like, even when when I started, there were people even within the business that I was working in that would make some snarky comments. As I said, take the piss out of my content, and some would be like, "Oh, you shouldn't say that, or you shouldn't post that." I'm like, I don't care. I'm not posting this for you. This is not for you. Like, why do you care? I don't care. Why do you care? People just care too much. People care too much what everyone else is going to think about them, and I think that's what stops a lot of people being themselves and expressing themselves the way they want to. But it's not actually as scary as it might seem, because most people don't care about you, like, at all. Like,
Yeah.
they care about themselves, about their own problems, about their own lives, and whatever you might say online, it's like, it's in through one ear and out through the other, and they've forgotten about it 5 minutes later when you're probably still thinking about it 2 days later. So it's just, you have to care less.
Absolutely agree. And what's funny about that is that, um, sorry, I'm spacing out here for a moment. I had an idea and it blew by. I'll think about it. We'll get back to this. One thing I did want to ask was about, like, now you're living in Bangkok and you're doing something that you love, and I can see the just how much energy and passion you have about this. But I always love to ask, like, on the positive side of all the hard work, like, what to you right now is like your success journey, and kind of like how are you rewarding yourself now that you've kind of reached a level of foundation where you're doing things on your own term? Like, what can that path of, like, challenges and perseverance and learning and not giving a fuck lead to, is what I'm asking you right now, and kind of what maybe is now your big scary goal at this point.
um I don't know what my big scary goal is. I'm not big on setting goals. I have a direction. Obviously, I want to grow my business. I want to make more money. I want to help my mom pay her mortgage on her house. Things like that. Maybe buy an apartment in Asia somewhere. So I have, like, sort of goals and directions I want to go in, but I don't have, like, oh, I want to be making this much in by 2024 January the 1st, and I don't function like that. But all the work that I have put in has just given me the freedom to, first of all, work with people that I want to work with. If you're giving me stress and anxiety, I'm going to fire you. I don't care. So I have that now, which I obviously didn't. When you work in an office, you might not gel with people, but you still have to pretend like you do, because you don't have a choice unless they leave or you leave. Um, I make more money, so I don't have a ceiling on my income. If I want to make more, I just need to charge more and work harder. Um, I feel financially free. I have the biggest financial freedom I've ever had. Uh, I have saved the most money I've ever saved. I feel confident. Like, even if work, for example, does slow down for a few weeks, I know that I'm financially stable and in a good place, and that things are not going to fall apart, and I don't have to stress about it. So I don't have that anxiety around money anymore. Um, and then just general freedom. I moved to Bangkok because I wanted to spend a year in Bangkok and see, maybe I want to live here again much longer. I can go on holidays every few weeks or every other month or whatever, I can go out and do things that I want. And it's just, if I need to, even just from the freedom perspective, if I need to go and see a doctor, I don't have to ask anyone. I just go and see a doctor. If I don't feel like working on a Monday, I don't work on a Monday. Yeah, I'll have to work a bit harder on Tuesday and Wednesday to catch up. But if I'm not feeling it, I don't have to force myself. If I want to go and see out a friend for brunch on a Tuesday at 12, I can do it. So I have all this. Yeah, it's just freedom. For me, freedom has always been the main goal with this is why I started posting on LinkedIn, building my personal brand and freelancing, because I wanted the freedom. In my head, I was, even if I make less money than I did at my full-time job, at least I have the freedom. I can move and live somewhere cheaper that is not London and is not extortionate. Jesus Christ, London prices, I just can't. uh, and you yeah, I just have the freedom to do things my way, and I've always wanted that. And that's what I have now, and that is, to me, that's the ultimate success, because no one can tell me how to be, how to dress, where to be, when to work, how to work. I decide these things, and that's, to me, that's everything that I wanted.
That's awesome. I love seeing the true kind of the journey and the challenges and now like where it gets you. The thing I meant to say earlier about like authenticity, and I forgot because I was like, oh, I'm just thinking about this awesome reply you had, was like whenever we try to be something different or emulate somebody else because we like they're so good, I need to be like them. Like we're only at best going to be second best to
Yeah.
anything that we try to replicate. Or if we're not authentic, that means we don't have a foundation people can actually truly connect to. Like when we're authentic, those connections are genuine from other people, and that's how you build your tribe and your little following. Anything else than that, like, doesn't quite make that audience resonate with you fully. They're kind of like, well, this is not quite like I don't feel the full uniqueness of this person. So, anything
Absolutely.
to support that authenticity.
And it's exhausting
What?
as
Yeah.
it's exhausting as well. Like, I always say, learn from the best, learn from the 1%, take away bits. And because I've taken bits and pieces from different creators, Leah Turner, Luke Matthews, all these big copywriters and people on LinkedIn, I take bits away from them, but I pick and choose. I'm like, oh, I like what he's doing there or what she's doing there. I can do that. I know that's going to work for me. Or I test things and go, oh, this worked for me, or this thing that this other creator did flopped and didn't work. So I'm just gonna, move on to the next. So I think it's, you learn, study, and take the good stuff away, but don't try to be someone else. Try to kind of copy someone else exactly, because that's just not. It's exhausting, and it's not gonna work.
Yeah, you're not going to enjoy it. Like this is meant to be fun, right?
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, I'm looking at the time and I want to be like, I'm very curious, like you're an introvert. And so even this, like, I'm so grateful for you doing this, but it's not easy. And you mentioned this, like how much it takes your energy. Like, how have you learned to balance that and also embrace it? Because it's not a negative. Like there's a superpower to being an introvert too, that things that you can do that like other people can't. So like, how do you
Mm.
balance your true self as an introvert in the work that you're doing to kind of make it right for you?
Um, I just I it, it's different every day. It just depends on my energy levels and how I feel. Some days, if I don't feel like going on LinkedIn and engaging, I won't. If I don't feel like posting, I'm not going to post. I have um I only take calls 4 times a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays, Saturday, Sundays, I don't take calls. So yeah, I just kind of, I see how I feel on the day. There is no balance. There's no balance when you run your own business. Sometimes you have to get over you like get over yourself. Like when you don't feel like getting on client calls, I still do it. I hype myself up before I kind of go, okay, let's do. It's only going to be half an hour. Come on, you can do this. So sometimes you just need to do the stuff that you don't want to do. And for me, again, it's just that driving fear of, okay, well, if I don't feel like showing up on LinkedIn, if I don't show up, my engagement goes down, my work goes down, everything gets affected by it. If I don't do these type of things, go on podcasts or networking calls or whatever it might be, it affects my business and affects my chances of growing and making more money, and it increases the possibility of me needing to go back to a 9 to 5, and I never want to do that. So to me, even though I am an introvert, and it's hard for me to do extroverted things a
Yeah.
lot, and you need to do that a lot when you run your own business. To me, that's a lesser evil than going back to a 9 to 5. So again, I function on fear and remind myself, well, if you don't get on this call and you don't do this, there's more possibility that you need to go back to an office job because you're not going to be getting work. So that's sort of how I deal with it. It might not be the most healthiest thing, but it works right now. So
No, but you also mentioned before you jumped to the fear, you also mentioned the balance of knowing yourself and energy and balance it out. And so, like, I think you're not functioning at the extreme of just like fear driving you all the time, but like having that
yeah.
balance of like, this is the intention and this is what I want to honor and this is the consequences and I'm following that path. Like, I don't see you being living in like paralyzing fear either.
No, 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 not at all. No, it's just I always, when I don't want to do something, because most times I don't want to get on calls. I
Yeah.
don't want to go on LinkedIn and talk to people. I don't want to do all these things, but I remind myself that you need to do these things because you have all these things that you want to do with your life. And in order to do those things, you need to do the things that you don't want.
Yeah.
And then in the end, usually when I get on the calls or go to the networking event or whatever I do enjoy it in the end. It's just the before is like, oh, I just want to sit on my sofa in my PJs. I don't want to put on makeup or clothes or pants. Like that's kind. It's just
Yeah.
getting over myself and getting out there and then yeah, I'll come home. I'll be tired. Like if I'll go to a 2-3 hour networking event in person, it will probably take me like 2-3 days to recover my energy levels where I can
Mhm.
feel where I can be around people again. But it's just what it is. I know myself, I know how I feel, and I just kind of work with that and work around it and do what I need to do.
I love it. And for all our audience, like I hope you see like just the power of being authentic and I hope it inspires you to just see like who you are, what values you have, the fears that you have, right? But like shape it and have time for reflection, have time to understand like what really makes you alive, like what terms do you want to have for your own success journey, and use Jane as inspiration to say, like, she's being very true to herself. She's making it happen, and it's not going to be easy, but amazing stuff can happen. One of the things you mentioned, like Fridays, you like to go to the spa, and I was like, oh, that's goal right there. That's entrepreneurial
Yeah.
goal right there for me.
Yeah, so my weekends are usually I do all the stuff that I like doing. I go for a massage. I like ice baths, so I'll go and do like an ice bath workshop in Bangkok, or I'll meet up with a friend to go out for a nice long brunch. Or if sometimes I feel really really tired, I will sleep on my sofa in front of Netflix and get pizza.
Ooh.
It just depends, but yeah, I work hard during the week, and then at the weekends I chill a bit more. I still work. I mostly work 7 days a week, but
Yeah.
it's just what you have to do when you start out and when you have your own business for a while. Um, but yeah, I take it more easy and get a foot massage or a facial
Yeah.
or
I love that.
go for a nice dinner, have some nice sushi or whatever it might be that my
Oh,
heart at that moment feels that it needs to kind of um, fill itself.
I love that. And Jane, how should our audience connect with you? Where should they find you if they want to work with you?
Um, LinkedIn is the best place.
Okay.
So you're gonna have my name in the show
Oh,
notes,
I
right?
will. I will. I will
Yeah,
totally put the name and the link. I just want to hear from you.
yeah. So yeah, you can find me Jane Kisnica. It's a hard surname to find, but or spell out or whatever pronounce. But yeah, Jane Kisnica on LinkedIn. That's where I'm the most active. I don't really use any other social media as much, so that's probably the best. And it has links to my website and my Calendly, so you can book in calls and things like that.
Yes, please follow. Jane has like amazing posts, amazing content, very authentic. Like I love it. Just fun. You get to see her humor and her personality in every post. So I love it. And to wrap up, Jane, we have 3 short bit questions, and then I'll let you go and recover from this podcast.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, let's do this.
Okay. First one is success to me is.
Freedom.
My current purpose is, it can be a little bit longer, but
My current. I hate when people ask me this. I don't know. I don't. I think
that's
my
okay.
current purpose is helping. I don't know. I don't know. How do people
So,
know what their purpose is?
so for sure, I think you're just being
um,
true to you.
right. Okay. Let me. We'll edit this out. Right.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So a different question. We're gonna do different questions. Um, if I could have a superpower, it would be.
Ooh, superpower. I think stopping time. Stopping time would be really cool.
Yeah. What would you do with it?
More work.
No.
No, I was just like, you know what? I would love to just stop time and have a really, really, really long nap where I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about, oh, I'm napping too long because I need to get up for work or need to go to bed or do work or whatever. Or yeah, just stopping time and not having to think about the times that are slipping by would be cool. So you can do loads of things when you
Yeah. No.
stop time. Like the
I was like,
productivity would be insane. I could finish like I could like stop time and I don't know, finish all the work and then restart the time and 24 hours have passed. How great would that be?
such a type A answer. I love it. Like I'm such an entrepreneur. I just want to stop time to do more. Okay, love that. And then last question in a positive context, going off track is.
I don't know how to answer that.
That's
Going
okay.
off track. So what it means to me,
Yeah, in a positive light, if possible.
going off track to me is doing things differently than what society expects you to do. So breaking out, building your own business, or I don't know, not having children, for example, not
Yeah.
getting married, not following all these standards that society pushes onto women, onto men, onto couples, just onto everyone else. Just doing something else than you're expected to do as a man, as a woman, as an entrepreneur, whatever it might be.
Awesome. I love it. Very genuine, very true. And I just appreciate you being authentic, you showing up today and doing this collaboration. To our audience, I also appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining us another adventure. And I hope it inspires you to be true on your journey, being authentic with whatever you are trying to do, and just to see like, what's possible when you do embrace that path. So thank you so much for coming right off track with us. We look forward to having you join us next time. Thank you so much, Jane.
Thanks for having me.
Our
Bye.
pleasure. Bye.